Thank you, Cheryl. So, without further ado, my friend Cheryl Engelhardt.
Step on the sidewalk, past a lady with a dog. I park my way by her. Wonder if she's got the foggiest idea. We're both the same. Walking through the schoolyard, got your books under your arm. You're thinking about skipping class. Flunking out has lost its charm. You put your best foot forward, step on a cloud. You really could fly, how to figure out how. The wisdom of the world is ours to hold and share with each other as we break the mold. If I could tell my younger self there's nothing I should change, let it catch my dreams and fall in love and fall flat on my face. It all needs a small idea of who I want to be. Let's stand up for the underdog is living powerfully. You're headed to your dorm room, you chat with the shy girl. You know there's more behind her eyes, a brilliant place in the world. You drink your morning coffee, today is the big day. Dressed up well, gonna give him hell, don't need anyone else's praise. You put your best foot forward, step on a cloud. You knew you could fly high, figure out how. The wisdom of the world is ours to hold and share with each other as we break the mold. If I could tell my younger self there's nothing I should change, and catch my dreams and fall in love and fall right on my face. All I need is a small idea of who I want to be. It's standing up for the underdog, that's living powerfully. How do you do? How do you live? What do you love? How much do you give? You put your best foot forward, step on a cloud. You knew you could fly, how to figure out how. The wisdom of the world is ours to hold and share with each other as we break the mold. If I could tell my younger self there's nothing I should change, catch my dreams and fall in love and fall right on my face. And all I need is a small idea of who I want to be. And stand up for the underdog that's living powerfully. It's living powerfully. I just realized I love this space because that sounds like 1,000 people were clapping. There are not 1,000 people here, which is great, but that just feels really good. So, hello, I'm Cheryl. Thank you so much for being here, every single one of you. And I have had, this is the first solo show I've done in about 7 years, and since the last one, a lot of things have changed. I was trying to think, how do I do this show without giving the audience musical whiplash? Trying to bring together all the different songs that I wanted to perform and whatnot. So I think I figured it out. So let's start at the beginning. The beginning, I'm gonna tell this story. Okay, we're gonna do story time today. Are we here for story time or just music? Story time. So story time then. I gotta walk around first of all because I'm wearing my favorite shoes and you need to see them. First of all. Second of all, okay, so I'm gonna tell my story. My story starts with me, I was 2. Like, oh my God, really good story. I was 2 years old, my parents took me to a piano recital. It was a friend of theirs piano recital, and I was sitting in front of them, and they were whispering to each other, look at her, there was someone playing, and I was just engrossed with these people, whoever was playing. And my parents were whispering to each other, look at her, just so engrossed with this concert. And I turn around and I take my chubby little 2-year-old finger and I go, shh, to my chatty parents. And they were just like, how did she know, like, what? So I started taking lessons with that piano teacher for many, many years, and I hated it. I hated it. I hated the word Tuesday, because that was when my lessons were, and I tried everything in the book to get out of my Tuesday piano lessons, including the only one that worked. The only one that worked was I sucked on my arm so hard. At the time, I guess I didn't know what it was, but I gave myself a hickey, and they thought I had an allergic reaction to something. It was the only time I got to go visit and skip my music lesson. But now I'm grateful because look at me. I'm playing a piano for you. That's what my life is. So, I started, Cheryl likes ice cream, Cheryl likes ice cream. Like, that's what you do with a 3-year-old. That's literally all you can do with a 3-year-old. I talk about like mantras. I'm very surprised I don't have like an ice cream fetish. Like, I mean, that was a lot of years of Cheryl likes ice cream before I moved on to, the Furlies. And of course the Mozart. So I was one of those kids that would try to play all these pieces as fast as possible because I just got bored so quickly. And then when I was like, okay, I can play this at Mach 1 speed, what else is there for me to do with these boring little kitty pieces? I've been debating whether or not I actually show you what I figured out I could do to make it really interesting. You can't unsee it, so it's kind of like, do you want to see? Your choice. What I did when I was a little kid to fight my boredom with piano. Okay, this is what I did. You can't unsee this. You can't unsee this. This is a grown woman. I would get under the piano, literally under it. I'm way too big now. Well, I haven't done it since I was 5. Get the point. I could play the whole piece like that. And no one thought it was impressive. That was very impressive. That's whatever. So, let's fast forward. So that was the early days. And I started writing music when I was 5. I was going to play one of those pieces, but no. And the lyrics that I had when I was younger were mostly what rainbows and unicorns. So we're going to skip that phase. So then I go to high school and I really got into singing. I got into a group called the Madrigals. We sang at the White House. It was like one of those prim and proper, and I loved my choir director. She had long black hair, Deborah O'Brien, down to her ankles. Like I've never, like, now I think about it, I'm like, she was probably a witch. Everyone was terrified of her. And I didn't know why, like she was amazing, she's wonderful. In my junior year, she passed away of stomach cancer. And I always was so sad, obviously, so sad about that. But I loved that she loved these starting pitches for one of our a cappella songs. It's like a little madrigal, whatever. But she was, there's something about those 3 notes together. So I wrote a piece called Angel Beats in college when I was learning music technology and based it on those 3 notes. And it's actually a hidden track in my very first record, Shoes Off and Run. It's in the back if you'd like to purchase it. If you wait for the last track to play out a couple minutes, you'll hear this piece. And I listened to it and I'm like, what was I thinking? But it's basically, goes into this like techno, like, I mean, that was lovely, right? Like, that could have been really nice. So, you can listen to that at some point. But that comes back around in the story. So just remember that. Also, Beethoven comes back in the story. But, yeah, so I made that in college. I went to Cornell. I loved every minute there. I was in a cappella groups. I really honed my vocal arranging and my music technology stuff, and that led me to New York City to work for a music house, the Jingle House. We were the people that write music for commercials that you see. But enough of me talking. While I was working at the music house, I decided that I wanted to try recording my own music because we had all these recording studios available. And so I put a band together and played the bitter end in all the places in New York City that you play, and made my first record. So this, each song that you hear is going to represent a body of work, most likely 12 other songs. So this one is from Shoes Off and Run. And I'm going to stop talking because this song is called Talk, Talk, Talk. Talk, talk, talk until you talk yourself into the ground. Walk, walk, walk until you take me and dance around. Love, 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 the one you never knew could be found. Let's talk, 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 talk. You're walking on a tightrope of words and crossroads. I hope that the words I choose will come back to haunt you. I wish that you would listen the first time, cause it would save us all of this. To crime, never wasting all this precious time. With talk, talk. You say I never stop, but look at it this way. Others say it's a good thing, big guy, that it started in the first place. Yeah. Let's talk until you talk yourself into the ground. Walk until you're taking me around this town. Skirt me issues you knew would come round soon. I wish you'd listen the first time through. I already said that twice before, yeah. I already said that twice before. I already said that twice before. Twice before. So why so sassy? Like, who was I talking to? First of all, I had just met Sarah Bareilles and we became friends, and she had some sassy songs. So I was a little inspired by her sassiness. But also, I was dating musicians in New York City, so it was worth it. One of them, I called him up, and we were talking, just sounded like he didn't want to talk anymore. And I was like, all right, well, he called me. And he sounded like he didn't want to talk anymore. And I said, all right, well, don't let me keep you. I was like, why did I say that? He called me. Like, what? So I remember being like mad at myself for like having this, like, I don't know, it just felt like, you know what I'm saying? Just like, come on my game right now, come on now. So I wrote this song, Keep. It was actually a bunch of different poems that I wrote on the subway I lived in Harlem, and my job at the Jingle House was down on 14th Street. So I'd ride my bike or I would be on the subway. And so I wrote all these little poems and I mushed them together, and I wrote the song, Keep. And it's my moneymaker song. So as a musician, there are a lot of different ways to make money as an artist, and this is from my second record, Creating the Second. I don't know what I was thinking about the picture, but we'll all get over it. And this song is off this album, and this song got my first TV placement, meaning it was in a scene on All the Children, and then it was in a scene on Road Rules, and what's the other one? Real World, all those things. So I started I was like, oh, look at this, you can make money with music. Okay. And most of it used the instrumental of this, and then I got feedback from Dan Wilson, who's an amazing songwriter, a Grammy winner, and he's the guy with Semisonic Closing Time. Anyway, I did a workshop with him, And he was like, I love this song so much. He loves this song. He's like, what are you talking about? So I'm gonna play this song that like you can interpret the meaning however you want, but it's very near and dear to my heart. It's the first time I had Sean Pelton, who's an amazing drummer, he's a Saturday Night Live drummer, play on it. My dad and I had a musical crush on Sean Pelton, and this happened to also be my dad's favorite song. He passed away 9 years ago. One of the saddest moments of the passing and the sort of losing of the mind was when he was trying so hard to find a version of Keep that he could recognize, and we went through all these tapes and cassettes and CDs from my live shows, and we just both realized we had this moment like he just can't recognize it, and it was so sad, and it took years for me to be able to play this again. So I'm happy to be able to play it for you now. And so this is Keep from my second record. I'm running fast and I'm dodging the trees. The ground is frozen beneath the lazy breeze. I think I'm close, but I can't be sure, so I'll play it safe and I will run some more. Don't let me keep you, 'cause I got too much to do. Don't let this get too deep, 'cause I got a soul to keep. My hands are damp, the clay is fine. I'm focused now on keeping time. The table turns, the figure spins. I'm molding you, the sculpture wins. Don't let me keep you, 'cause I got too much to do. Don't let this get too deep, 'cause I got my soul to keep. Spotless desert, this tongue talk back, walk back before the coffee's done. Grab it and devour, don't keep track of the hour. Gift wrap, love snap, jump jumps, it has begun. Don't let me keep you, 'cause I got too much to do. Don't let this get too deep, 'cause I got my soul to keep. All right, so then, let's see. Eventually, I met a guy. Well, he met me. I was playing in Portland, Maine, and some friends brought some friends, and he was in the audience at a show. And now he's in the audience at a show again. So my husband, my future, now in the story, my future husband, but at the time I didn't know it. He asked for my number and gave him a sticker. And I had to like track him down. Yeah. So we did long distance. He's a rock climber. I was in New York City, you know, he was from Maine. I love New York City. So, you know, hello, New Paltz. Nice little Compromise town, which we're both surprised we love so much. Anyway, you know, long distance can be tricky, and, you know, people can be tricky, men can be tricky. So I wrote this song for myself called Steaming Hearts. It was my first song that I really was like, I want to arrange an orchestra for this song. So my whole entire third album, One Up, See what I'm doing? Has a lot of strings on it, and I took some classes at Juilliard to really kind of hone that skill. So I'm very proud of this song and the acapella stuff that happens in the song. So me doing this piano reduction kind of feels like it's not doing the song justice, but good news, there's a music video for it. And what is this? This is a cute, I'm gonna call it my cutie QR code. So if you just put your camera up to it, it will say, oh, do you want to open this link? You should open it, but you should not scroll through because this is being live streamed on that page, so we're gonna get all sort of like meta on it, but you can save that link for later, and there's all sorts of extra from these stories, like photos and videos and things from what's happening. So that's what happens when you scan this QR code. It will take you to a live page that has music videos and things like that for all the stuff I'm talking about. So, music video on there is taking place in the Tetons, and we literally had like a helicopter drone. We met this guy at a cafe, and he was like looking to try out his drone, so we filmed all this stuff. And I'm like, it looks like I'm climbing this huge cliff. Silas is actually helping me, and his best friend were like belaying me to make it look really cool. So when you hear the song, you're gonna be like, oh, they've got problems. But it's Silas's favorite song, just so you know. So, and we're coming out to our 10th anniversary, so it's all good. I mean, it's not all good, but it's like, we're good, so don't even worry about it. Student hearts. There's also t-shirts with a little logo on it, saying student hearts. Just so you know. Student heart's glory comes from rising up from pain. The pieces put together are forgotten honestly. It's the one who knew you best, who can pull you to your worst. And the one you thought would last is the one who drops out first. Always waiting for a big change, looking at me strange, like I'm the one who doesn't know what's to come. I'm trying to stick with you, I just think we're home to. We make it so hard sometimes, I think we're through. I can't keep on going on like everything's okay. If you wanna keep me, you gotta change your way. I've done all I can do to see the diamond in the rough. Now I've had enough. I will get over this, over so fast. I may cry through the night, till my tail's not at last. This steaming heart will cool and melt into the past. Something to be said for trying on the smooth, even though your words don't match your mood. You can slip on by, leave me to my peace. I'm done being crazy, I've got a release. I'll get over this, over so fast. I may cry through the night, till my devil's not at last. This steam heart will cool and melt into the past. See to what you feel. Don't hide behind your face. Breathe, breathe, breathe through you. I'm falling into grace. mark one up. This one is called Memory. This is the other side of the relationship. Just, wanting to not just talk about what happened in your day long distance, but actually make a new memory together. And I had this thought as a song that could be cool, but when I was making this record, what I did for a year was each, get the 12 tracks, so each month I would work on a different track, and I would email my fans, they all should get my emails, and tell them that if they wanted to, they could sponsor a song for a month. And it was the first time I ever got money for music from a stranger, from a fan. And his name was Sergeant Dominic Kolb, and he gave me $1,000. And one of two things happens when a musician receives $1,000. They're so grateful, and they're like, oh, I am doing something that matters for someone, this is amazing. Or they go into a deep cycle of anxiety and panic because now they need to create something worth $1,000. Guess which one happened to me? Was the second one. The second one. I was like, oh my God. And so I wrote to him and I said, thank you so much. And I had all these packages, right? So if you give this much, then you get I will cook you brownies and you get 2 albums and a poster and all this stuff. And he's like, well, I'm in Iraq, so ixnay on the brownies. And he's like, honestly, can I just have 2 posters? Because there's nothing in our barracks. I would love 2 posters. I was like, yeah, I can definitely send you 2 posters. And he hadn't even seen what the posters looked like, and maybe he wouldn't want to. So it was like bigger than life-size face of me. So I sent him 2, and then I asked him, I was like, why? Well, I don't know how he found me, but I was like, why did you give $1,000? This is so generous. And he said, well, 2 reasons. One, I stole a lot of music when I was in high school. He's like, this is kind of like karma. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, 2, I literally have nothing to lose. And I was like, all right. Ensue panic attack. So these are now available. If you buy a CD or a t-shirt, you get one of these if you want for free. There's a couple other things you can get for free, but this is vintage. And I'll tell you why. Actually, you start in the front. Can you read to everyone what this URL is on the poster?
MySpace.
Yeah, myspace.com. So this is vintage. You know it's vintage because it has my MySpace URL on it. Does anyone here young enough? It's MySpace. So anyway, this is a song that Sergeant Dominic Kolb, who's still on the mailing list and will write every once in a while, sponsored, and it is called Memory. Anyone that's a music dork, the verses are in 7/8 and the choruses are in 4/4, and I didn't do that on purpose, but now I'm pretty psyched about it. She'll wash her troubles with the dishes, she dances with the drinks, she finds comfort in her computer, her piano is her playmate. And when loneliness sneaks in with his cousin fear, she says, no, you don't belong here. I got rid of you last year. I got rid of you last year. I don't need memory. I need something to hold. And I choose you. I choose you. So won't you come back home? Which is wherever I roam. She writes him letters in her sleep. He keeps them in a box. With every closing line, there was something that he lost. To wake up to the sunny sky and remember you exist. She sings, today's the day I So won't you come back home? Some moments I can't breathe. What am I to do with that? Sit here and wait to see. Hey, Mom, my boyfriend's back. Hey, Mom, my boyfriend's back. Of all the things that you have seen, we let go, be all you can be. I never thought I'd be this strong and love you so. This can't be wrong, this can't be wrong. And I don't need memory. I need something, yes, I need something to hold. I need to hold you. And I choose you. I choose you. So won't you come back home? Won't you come back home? Won't you come back home? Thank you so much. So, just so you know, there was a mailing list when you came in and you signed up for it. I'm doing a giveaway at the end. I have a magic box. And inside of it is a bunch of CDs and crystals and candles and keys and books and things. And it's fun. And you want it. So it's going to anyone who signs up on my mailing list. So you can do that at the end, and then I'll give you a couple minutes. And then, it's cool. It's just a thing. Okay, so now, we're cranking through here. So this is the last pop album. It's called Inevitably. Boom. It's all duets. Every single one of these is co-write, meaning I did not write the song myself. And I was basically getting bored, right? I was like, all right, I've done all this pop stuff. I did some touring with the band, I did some orchestra stuff, that's cool. So let's write with other people and see what happens. So I got married to the guy from Student Hearts in Memory, right? And that's cool. And then 6 months later, my dad passed away. That's not cool. And I also started getting more film scoring work. So I decided to stop touring with my band all over the Kingdom Come and stay home and do some film score work. And one of the jobs I got was for collegehumor.com, which is like a content creation site of a lot of raunchy and inappropriate videos. A lot of the very, and like they would get like millions and millions of views, and I'd be very excited, and I'd be getting paid and things like that, but I would never show my mother. She's like, what do you work now? I'm like, nothing! And there's another big token thing, don't worry about it. There's one video, and this is on the page, it's embedded on the page if you get the, go to the QR. It's cbemusic.com/live, which I was like, QR code, or you can remember that. And there was a web series that I scored called Full Benefits. It was about these two people speaking around at work that got together. And the moment they got together, like the fans were like so invested. Like anytime a new video went up on YouTube, like within 24 hours, it had 1 to 2 million views. And I was writing music for like the background music, you know. And so this is a party, like the company was having a party, and the first minute and a half was like the at the party, and all of a sudden you see the guy like go up to kiss her, so it's like their first kiss. And I wrote, it's literally 7 seconds, and it's basically like everything stops, and it's all strings, and then like I could get interrupted or something, and the comments were like, what is that music at 1:48? What is that music at 1:48? Like, what song is that from? And it's like, oh man, I could have like all these new fans if I actually like made a song around these 7 seconds that I wrote. And so I sat there and I was like, for like 2 months, I was like, what did I do with this? And I could not come up with anything. I was like, oh, the 7-second song. I guess I should. So one of the things I did right after we got married is I did a month in Los Angeles. I got into this composer, writer, songwriter residency. This is where 2 songwriters get paired up together and you get a mentor. So I got paired up with the amazing Cameron Ernst. He's now a country singer. At the time, he was dabbling in pop before he came out, which is another beautiful story. He's very public about his whole journey. And our mentor was Engelhardt. And so our assignment was to write some songs together. So he and I had just gelled as co-writers. So this is a couple years later, and I decided to call him and say, I am stuck, I need to write this song, and I have, what do you got? Like, do something. So I went to LA, and we sat in the studio, and we ended up writing the words first, and he was sort of looking for his next love. And at the time, he hadn't come out, so I didn't know what he was referring to. And for me, I was kind of looking for signs from my dad, who had passed away over a year prior. And so we wrote this song with very, very different intentions where we were both coming from. And it ended up becoming the title track of this record, and it's called Inevitably. So I'm going to sing the song that I wrote with Cameron Ernst. Love is in the air tonight. Crack a bottle on the moon, still high, and the band is on. With one more song. Close my eyes and count to 3. Wishing that the stars look down on me and send you soon. Maybe you're here, so where are you? Maybe you're far, I can't find you. Something is clear, it's meant to be. Inevitably, inevitably. Another morning set to brew. Don't know why I set the table for 2. Thought that you were here, then disappear. There's a vacancy in my heart. Pretty sure you're the missing part. How much longer? Maybe you're here, so where are you? Maybe you're far, I can't find you. Something is clear, it's meant to be. Inevitably, inevitably. Inevitably. All this time, you wait for me, and soon I'll find you came for me, you came for me. Maybe you're here, so where are you? Maybe you're far, I can't find you. Something is clear, it's meant to be. Inevitably, all right, let's change it up a little. Probably not time. I don't trust myself. I think I can do it without my sheet music and notes, but I'm getting old. Who knows?
there's a very good chance I'm gonna stop that. That's not a big deal. Let's trust myself. Okay. It's stressful to me, y'all. It's stressful. All right, so as I was saying, I was getting bored, right? Am I too close? No, I don't think I have COVID. So, okay. So I was getting bored. Let's try something new. I did 4 pop records, tried all the things. So, oh God. You choose for me? Music teacher. This is very hard to do an impression. That one. Now it's worse. Other end. I have my phone, but my phone is in many rooms. Let's get it together. Can you do this for me?
I don't have enough Cheryl stitches out there.
Here, I can do it for you. Oh, I have a violin player with like everything.
Yeah, but I don't know what the notes for this.
They're right notes, just get them like all those to each other. Yes, Suzette. Awesome. So play. Yeah, this is going to be a little interactive. So that's better than what I did. That's great. Well done having someone in the room. I was thinking this is going to. I'm sweating. Scissors. Okay, I'll take it off. All right. I do need to take it off because of what's going to happen. So we're gonna do a little sing along, and it's gonna be fun. But this is called the first ukulele song I play at my show. Here's the title. Just for the words. It's just for the words, really. That's what we're playing the piano. That's okay. I hope you can hear me sing. Played the piano since the age of 2, but recently I thought it's time for something new. So I borrowed a guitar, but I didn't get very far until I saw a ukulele on sale. I'm a sucker for sales, so on the guitar I did bail and went a size smaller, which makes me look even taller. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm not sure how this will go. The chords I play may not sound that tight, but I can count on you. I know to love, 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 love the first ukulele song I play at my show. And this is how far I got. It may not seem like a lot, but when you are used to keys, it's kind of hard to switch to strings. So I watched tutorials on YouTube, but stopped because I'm pretty much screwed. You see, the teachers took for granted that most people are not left-handed like me. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm not sure how this will go. The chords I play may not sound that tight, but I can count on you. I know to love, 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 love the first ukulele song I play at this show. One thing I know to do is add a bridge here after chorus 2, and I might feel better and a little less pressure if I can sing along with you like this. La la la, am I doing it? Oh, la la la, am I doing this right? La la la, am I doing this right? Your turn. La la la, am I doing this right? La la la, am I doing this right? La la la, am I doing this right? What? La la la, am I doing this right? Life right. La la, am I doing this right? La la la, am I? You gotta keep going in order for me to play the drum. Ready? And la la la, am I doing this right? La la la, am I doing this right? Yeah. La la la, am I doing this right? 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 I don't know if I'm doing this right. I It's the only one. I play this show. But if I didn't have it there, I would have needed it. That's how things work. All right, the last one. That's how we change it up in my world. The other way we change it up is we join a social justice choir and we go to France and Israel and Jerusalem and get yelled at by the people in the West Bank, and it's an adventure. So let's talk about that for a second. I'm actually not going to tell that story because it's really intense. But the cool thing about joining Voices 21C, which it is a social justice choir based out of Boston, is that they asked me to write for them. It's a very cool organization, and I was part of the founding members, and I was asked by the director, who his name's Andre de Quadros, and he is like, how would you describe him? He's like a really tall Gandhi meets Dumbledore. So he's like 90% crazy and 10% absolute genius and a total humanitarian. And he's delightful. And he was coming up with this program for our season called Time to Break the Silence, which is a phrase he lifted from one of the lesser known Martin Luther King speeches that he gave in 1968 to the year before he was assassinated in Riverside Church in Harlem. And he spoke out against the war, Vietnam War. And so he got a lot of flack for this because everyone was like, you're the, humanitarian people, you're not a war person, why are you talking about the war? And his whole thing was, it is about listening to the oppressed and not necessarily being the loudest voice in the room, no matter what cause you're going after. And I wasn't going to play this, it's an a cappella piece, it's 4 big choirs, hundreds and hundreds of people have sung this piece. And during COVID, a couple different choirs, especially the month after George Floyd's death, reached out to me and said, we want to do a virtual recording of this with our choir. It seems timely. And so we ended up getting a lot of choirs to sing virtually and do this recording. And somehow, long story short, we ended up meeting Dunsley Abernathy, Martin Luther King's goddaughter. And she sings the solo on this recording, which is at the webpage of extra stuff. And then there's also spoken word rap section that we got Wes Felton, who's a DC-based social justice spoken word rapper, and so he's doing that on the recording too. So it was this extraordinary, it was featured in People magazine and Harper's Bazaar, and it's one of the highlights of my career as a composer to be a part of just handing this off and letting the voices that really needed to be amplified. And this week was such a affirmation show that I felt like the message is still here in this piece. So none of the words, because of copyright reasons, none of the text is actual Martin Luther King text, but it's all inspired by and extrapolated from, and even very specific phrases were lifted in, and I sort of basically became like the source for the speech. I studied it for months before I wrote the text here. So this is a piano solo, obviously solo vocal version breakdown of this piece, and I rarely play this because normally it's with a choir, so hopefully you'll get the gist of it, but this is called The Listening. Violence, silence, time, silence, time has come for us to move on. Time has come for us to move on. Time has come for us to move on. There is a new spirit rising. There is a new spirit rising. I turn my back when I hold my tongue. I cannot be silent. I cannot stand by and leave these words unsung. I cannot be silent. Trust and praise is reason to make better choices. It's our purpose to speak for the voiceless. We must hear their broken cries. It starts with listening. This is the recreation of the listening. This
is the recreation of listening. Somehow this madness must stop. To be on the right side of the revolution means it's time we shift our view of peace so we can alter our evolution. War was not the way. Can we be tranquil and somewhat tame? Rational while we stay sane. Solve the problem, the solution thereof. That being unconditional love. Not as a weak condition, but as the key for the ignition of peace. The time is now. There is a new spirit rising. There is a new spirit rising. We must act in the face of risk. We need to choose to transform. And we need to be risk. I cannot be silent. I cannot be silent. I will not be silent. It's time to close the gap. Stop the distancing. Stop inhibiting. Stop what we are witnessing. It's time, it's time, it's time, it's time to break. It's time to break the silence with the listening. It's time to break the silence with the listening. Break the silence with the listening. All right, so while I was doing some choir stuff, I also got asked by one of my very best friends to write a musical. And he had been obsessed with the Kennedys and wanted to write a musical about a particular Kennedy tragedy, the Chappaquiddick event that happened in 1968 to 1969 when one of the 6 Boiler Room girls, they were the women that were helping Bobby Kennedy on his campaign. One of them was found drowned in a car that Teddy Kennedy apparently had something to do with. So we wrote this musical called Boiler Room Girls. And it was the best. I mean, we did research for about 5 years and then we really wrote it in like a year and a half. And it went up in Rhinebeck Center for Performing Arts in September of 2019 for 3 nights. And we got all sorts of feedback. We started to work on it and then COVID happened. And he had to start figuring out how to keep the center open. And then he got stage 4 cancer. And this past January, Kevin Archambault passed away. And I know I have my marching orders. This show will get to Broadway at some point. But I thought this was such a piece of my composing career, and I had also done a lot of musicals with him. And so I wanted to play one song. Like I said in the beginning, every one of these songs represents a whole body of work. So I'm going to invite up our original Mary Jo Peckney, Kaya Sachs. And Kaya is going to, she originated the role, so she's going to sing this song. It's called I'll Take the Light. You can sing up here. I don't think you can. Oh, you can sing here. Yeah. So this song, I'll Take You to the Light, is in the middle of the show. Well, first version, who knows what's going to happen. And it's Bobby Kennedy singing to Mary Jo. Bobby has already passed away, and Mary Jo is in the car, and she sees that this is sort of the end. And one of the things that Kevin and I are really, really interested in as a theme is, can you do good, big work on this scale and survive? Because Bobby was up to something good, Mary Jo was up to something good. And so this is them singing to each other, maybe even singing to themselves. We have different interpretations of it. So I'm going to sing the part of Bobby, and Kaya is going to sing, your part. It's called I'll Take You to the Light, and that's obviously every note of this is dedicated to a different.
to my ears, but now we're here. I'll take you to the light. Let's face this journey together. I'll guide you through the night. Let the future unwind, now is forever. I'm right here by your side, and I'll take you to the light. You know you've never been alone. You add another heart to your equation. You've been brilliant on your own. You've risen to the task at each occasion. You are complete, yet here we meet. I'll take you to the light. Let's face this journey together. I'll guide you through the night. The future unwind, now is forever. I'm right here by your side, and I'll take you to the light. I've asked all the questions, searched for all the solutions. I thought I found the missing clue. I put them together, and the answer is that the light is you. The light is you. I'll take you to the light. Let's face this journey together. I'll guide you through the night. Unwind, now is forever. I'm right here by your side, and I'll take you to the light. Let's face this journey together. I'll guide you through the night. Let the future unwind, now it's forever. I'm right here by your side, and I'll take you to the light.
So there's no point in me singing anymore, obviously. Like, why would I even? It's dumb. So let's talk about what's next. So actually, while I was working on the songs that 2019, we were getting ready for auditions for Boiler Room Girls in August. And in July, I happened to have gotten into a composer residency in Greece, in a tiny little half-abandoned mountain town. You had to take a couple of planes and a ferry and a cab and a goat and to get there. No goats were coming. And I thought I was going to write some choral music. I thought I was going, and that's what I applied for. And they're like, here's your studio. And I walked in, and it's this stone cave room with a grand piano in it. It was perfectly tuned. I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do a piano album. Yeah, we are. And I also knew I only had 14 days, and I'd never be able to recreate the echoes and the sound of the piano in that room. So it was go time. I had, as I have mentioned, struggled with anxiety a little bit, a lot bit, panic attacks and things fairly regularly. And I had tried to find, I had started to meditate. As of today, I am at day 1439 of meditating straight, days straight, at least 5 to 10 minutes. And so that started to really help. But I was listening for music to help with meditation, and I found either a lot of like, and like I would listen to that and I'd write back to my like, well, I need eggs and I definitely need milk. And like I wasn't like there was no processing of emotions. I was kind of, it was too easy to go like latch on. So then I tried listening to like classical music and other kinds of music, but the melodies were too strong, so I would latch onto the music itself. So I was like, maybe I can actually try to create music that latches onto my anxiety or my sadness or whatever it was and like clear it out inside of the piece. So I wanted to create 10 pieces, and that's what Luminary is. This is my first New Age album, no vocals, except I did use my voice as an instrument, so there are vocals, but no words, I should say no words. And each piece is 6 minutes long, and it starts with something, and it releases it. So it's either about releasing something or attracting it, like attracting love, attracting abundance, or releasing anxiety, or releasing negativity. And so each piece starts a little dark, but that's because that's kind of where we are too. So if the music can meet you where you are emotionally, this is my hypothesis, and then go from dark to a little bit lighter, can it bring you with it? So I experimented with Luminary, and if you walk away with one of these albums, I wish everyone would walk away with this one. First of all, most of us can only listen to CD in a car, if that, and I've literally been told that people drive nicer when they're listening to this. It doesn't put you to sleep. One of my favorite compliments was someone was like, I'm gonna give this to all of the bitches at my workplace because I think it will help them. And I was like, can that be my tagline for my New Age music? So this is a special record, and it was really fun to record, and I did a lot of cool stuff with the piano. I plucked the strings and reversed the audio, so at times it'd be like, wait, it's piano and voice and a bell, there's a bell in there. But I did a lot of weird editing, fun stuff with this record. So there are pictures on the website about this. The other fun thing about Greece is there's a lot of stray dogs in this little town. There's a lot of stray dogs. And so at night when I was recording, because I couldn't record in the daytime, the cicadas were so loud when the sun was out. They're like, my microphone was literally picking up the cicadas. So I had to record at night. And at night, that's when the stray dogs are out. So I would be doing these like trying to make sound that I could then like edit. And anytime I went high, the dogs would be like, ow! And I'd have to sit and like wait for 5 minutes, and I'd be like, ow! And then they'd like start again. So it was like, you can hear on a couple tracks, if you really listen for it, cicadas and stray dogs. So I'm not going to play a full piece. I'm just going to do the opening of one of the first songs called Sister of Eos. There's a lot of background, which it's so funny to not have words in your songs. I was like, what do I call them? Like, don't let me keep you, because I got too much to don't let, I have my soul to keep. Obviously, I'm going to call that song Keep. What do you call this? So it was fun to like dig into what do I call this and why and what's the energy behind it. So that's for another story time, but this one's called Sister of Eos, and I'm just going to play a snippet of it so you get the world of it. So after being a pop artist for 4 years, or for 4 albums, 4 years, and touring all over England and Switzerland and the UK and America with the bands, did you know that Oreos are vegan? I learned that because my guitar player is vegan, and when you're in a van with 3 guys for like 10 days, you try and figure out things like that. So I learned that. They also, every time we toured together, the same band, they're like amazing guys. We toured and like probably 4 times a year, and they would try to figure out what the B in Cheryl, B Engelhardt stands for. I mean, they like Bartholomew and Burger, and like there would always be like one session of like, all right, we're gonna figure it out this time. They never did, and I'll never tell. So that's fun. So anyway, so you know, when you're a pop artist, you like, you want to make it big. And for some reason, this little like composer residency album, I was like, I'll just release it, even though it was like just a project. It got #1 on iTunes and Amazon, and like won all these awards in New Age, and then like people were like, you should submit it as a Grammy. And I was like, what's happening? Am I Enya now? Like, that's cool. Am I like New York Enya? So I decided to do another one because COVID hit, right? This came out in 2020, and then COVID hit, and I was like, well, might as well do another one. So the next one I did is called The Seeker's Slumber, and I decided that I wanted to be all about falling asleep. And so, based on the same idea of like, can music latch on to and bring you somewhere, I started songs and I looked at resting heart rates. I did a lot of heart rate research, and I thought, okay, if the song can meet you at your heart rate of like 100, like right when you get into bed, you're not at resting heart rate, right? Maybe you're even a little anxious. But what if you started listening to music and then the music slowed down, actual tempo, right? When you go into a club and you hear the like your heart rate, like people, there have been studies done that your heart starts to sync up with whatever the pulse is. So that was the premise of this record. Only 3, and I'm holding this up because it's just digitally released. I don't have CDs, but I did make little like it says it's time for a seeker's slumber. You can put on your door to tell people to get the F away when you're sleeping. You get one for free if you buy anything in the back there. So that's what I'm holding up here. But 3 songs on the record actually did that. The rest of the songs, I started writing the lyrics again. I was like, oh no, I want to go back to pop. I like New Age. I like that I don't need to do verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. I like that I can do weird sounds and like, you know, not necessarily words. And a couple songs came out, and I was excited about the songs with lyrics. But what I realized was that they were all part of a day. Like waking up, there was this hopeful song that just came out. Then there was one about like remembering those who have left and processing. And then there was one about like when something happens and you're angry and like you have to process that anger before you can go to bed. And so then I realized I was creating like a score of a day for this record. So I'm actually not going to play any songs from this record at all because I thought my voice would have been gone by now, and it's not. And I didn't prepare any songs for it. So I think this will be another show where I just do songs from this. But I encourage you to go listen to it. So yeah, the last thing I want to play for you here is something from my most recent record that came out in April. Oh, by the way, Seeker's Slumber and this other New Age record that just came out, also #1 on iTunes and Amazon charts and like getting awards and stuff. So it's like not even time. It's very cool. It's a very lovely feeling. It's also on all the meditation apps. If you're a meditation app person, like Insight Timer and Simple Habit. So the rest of the story goes like this. We're getting to our close, y'all. In January, that was when my very dear friend Kevin Archambault passed away from cancer, my co-writer of Boy Blue Girls. And I had already scheduled myself to go on a cross-country train trip to get to the Grammys, which were supposed to happen at the end of January. So January, the Grammys got canceled. I had this huge loss. The whole community had this huge loss, still does. And I was like, what do I do with this train trip? By the way, I booked a train because I was looking at flights, and I was like, those flights are so expensive to get to Los Angeles. I should just take a train. And like, that's how things happen in my life. Like, I joke about them, and then like suddenly I'm like going down rabbit holes and booking myself a cross-country train trip. So I decided to go on this train trip, and I had decided that I wanted to, it was 5 days from New York to Los Angeles, and I decided, what if I made an album on the train? It couldn't be a vocal piano album. It would have to be all electronic. And I was like, what if I did? needed something for the album, because again, this is a digital album, I don't have hard copies of it yet, so. It's a budget there. So I did it, by the way. I made 12 tracks on the way out, and I loved it so much. I love being on the train. I love being able to have a room to myself where I could just sit and cry, and also travel and see I was so stuck in my own energy, in my own space. I mean, we all have been in our own houses for so long, and I just needed to travel, but I was too exhausted to like travel. So I literally lay in a bed and watched the country go by. It's very cool. It's very cool. And I loved it so much that I canceled my flight back home, took a train back. So I ended up collaborating. I sent tracks to people, Grammy-winning singers and violin players and all sorts of amazing people. And luckily, got this album to come out, and I'm very proud of it. And I got to honor Kevin, and I got to honor the process of processing emotions. And it's, at the same time, it's not a depressing album, but it is very meditative. It is electronic ambience. So I guess now I'm like Brian Eno, which is cool. So this is going to be the last song. There will be an encore song that's going to give you the next thing, but I want to invite out Suzette Haas, who is a violin player and ukulele tutor. And while she sets up, this is called Angel's Lullaby. And the only other piece that you heard that had the word angel in it was that Angel's Beat song. Remember? So this is the last song that I wrote for The Passenger, because I felt like it was time to actually give this song some due justice back from 20 years ago. So I rearranged it and rewrote it, and this is called Angel's Lullaby. That was the last thing that I wrote for the last album that I released, 7 albums. Nice job, y'all, stuck with me. 7 albums, plus a choral career, plus a musical theater thing. So, thank you for being here. You're a beautiful little audience, and we've got one more. this is kind of what's next. This is a piece I got asked to write by the Dallas String Quartet. Their tagline is like, when Bach meets Bon Jovi. But they're kind of a big deal. They just played Gwen Stefani's wedding, so like I don't mess with them. But they're awesome. We just played this piece that I wrote for them and me at a very large Grammys party. And I mean, it's classical music, and at this party it was like all like pop and like R&B and stuff, and people were like cheering in the middle of this song. It was very fun. But I think it really like touches home. It's called quantum equivalence, and it's based on the idea that we yearn for something, and then in order to really attract it, it actually exists already. We just have to be the quantum equivalent of that thing energetically. It's very new agey new woo, right? It's totally on brand with the new, me. But what I love about how this all comes together is that Beethoven piece that I was so bored of when I was like 7. I learned later in life that Beethoven wrote this for Elise, and he never got together with her. He just yearned for her. So you'll hear those exact notes in this. So, yeah, and thank you for being here. Thank you to Kaya, and thank you, Suzette, for playing with me. And there's a lot of merch, vintage merch, in the back of t-shirts from tours from a long time ago. Wash them before you wear them. And CDs and extra videos and fun stuff on this page, cbemusic.com/live. And there will be a giveaway for it if you sign up on the mailing list on the way out. I will get this box of delicious goodies to you. There's no food in here, but. And I'm sorry, I'm reading this thing first. This will just something Beethoven, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. So all this. Okay. Quantum equivalent. Thank you for being here. We'll sign up and there's wine in the back.